Yo, what's going on, everyone? It's Brian here with Drink a Beer and Play a Game, and welcome to another episode of the Power Hour podcast. Now, as you can tell, I'm riding solo today, and that is simple because, as we alluded to on the last podcast, Jim is in the process of moving. I actually helped him this past week move a bunch of his shit into a storage unit. He's in a transition period of getting into his new house, so anyone who's done that knows it's a giant pain in the ass. So we all got to wish him well, and he'll probably be back next week, and we'll probably be getting back to doing these in person versus always doing them over the Zoom calls. So welcome, everyone. I hope you're all having a great week. Man, if you're like us and you're from Philly, we've had quite a year, and this 95 bullshit is just the tip of the shit sandwich. So we're making through it. I can say driving into work, where I have to drive, I usually take that section of 95. So I had to do a lot of back roads. So yeah, that was none too fun. But it is what it is. I do got some beers with me tonight. I'm starting off with a good little classic though. Anyone who's followed this channel knows I am a huge fan of mead. And I've actually talked about this meadery before. It's called the Groenfell Meadery, and this is their Nordic Farmhouse. Now, this is a Saison-style mead with cranberries. And if you look at the way this looks, I mean, looks like watered down cranberry juice. That's the best way I'm going to describe it, but it tastes great. It's got that honey sweetness, the tartness of the cranberry, and if you've ever had a Saison, they're very similar to a sour, but I always call them a more drinkable sour. So it's a nice little beer, or mead, I should say, 5.7%, and they even decide to put in here. The ingredients are always simple from these guys. It's water, honey, cranberry juice, and potassium sorbate. So that's it. But a little background on them is that the Nordic Farmhouse has been brewed in some form for at least 3,000 years along the coast of the region we now call Sweden. This craft mead version of the Scandinavian classic is crisp and a little funky, thanks to a blend of floral honey, tart cranberries, and naturally occurring wild yeast. I think I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but I actually have brewed mead with somebody who does it, I'll call it semi-professionally. I never knew there were so many differences in the honeys you choose. One of the meads we brewed, he specifically wanted a very vanilla-heavy mead. And not only did we use vanilla bean, but he used honey from the West Coast that had a marshmallow vanilla flavor. And that's because the bees there were pollinating flowers that have that flavor. So 90% of the honey that's usually used is from wildflowers, hence the term wild honey. And it just has a more neutral flavor. But man, when you get some of that honey that is like flavored, it makes such a difference. So there's just a little interesting tidbit for you. But as I said, cheers to everyone out there, especially anyone in the Philly area who's dealing with the bullshit. So, when it comes to games I've been playing, I know in the previous couple weeks I've been slacking big time when it comes to gaming, but I actually managed to get in a decent amount this time, and I finished 2 games. The first one was that game I mentioned previously, The Stories Untold. I completely finished it. It was 4 chapters or episodes. They are interconnected, which I always love that, because at first it doesn't seem like there's any connection, and then the final chapter really ties them all together. I don't know what to call it. It's kind of a sci-fi horror, but then each game plays out as a semi-puzzle, but also a text-based adventure. It's a very unique... It's unique. That's the best way I can describe it. And as I'm talking, I will have a little clip going so you get a feel for what I'm talking about. I think in total it might have taken me 2 hours, maybe 3. It was a pretty short game, surprisingly. Some sections definitely took longer than others. So if you're looking for a very different type of game and you like solving things with a puzzle, like this was the type of game you definitely need to write shit down. Like you need to you in one section you have to figure out Morse code, and they tell you how to do it in the game, but I'm sitting there literally like listening to the beep 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 beep, and you're trying to figure out what the numbers are. So really cool. Definitely suggest it. And then I also finally got around to beating Baddie Zabella, and man, oh man, this was pretty damn fun. It's from our boys at Retro Room. Give them all the props in the world. This game I am going to do a standalone video for, just to show some extra love for it. And I also want to show off the cool instruction manual and the physical cart I got. But it's a point-and-click adventure. It's a lot of fun. It would be fun doing it on the go. Now, because I was recording footage, I did it on my PC, but I did like the premise. You are basically an Elvira / Vampira knockoff who is going through her mansion, which happens to be connected to an underground dungeon, and you got to fight off demons as you look for your son and husband, who just happens to be a bat. I don't want to give anything else away. It is kind of simplistic as a point and click goes, but I like that. It's not one of those ones where you have to like click every inch of a screen. It's a little more intuitive than that. So if you want to support an indie group, and you guys know Retro Room, I would suggest it. And especially if you like point and click kind of comical horror aesthetic adventures, then this one's right up your alley. So this week, I know I'm going to butcher this, and I know the Patreon questions, Jim does a great announcement. I'm going to give my abridged version. But anyone who supports us on Patreon, first, let me say thank you guys so much. But if you would like to become a supporter with everyone else, it's at patreon.com/DrinkABeerandPlayAGame. And for $2 every month, you can ask us a question, which we will answer in each and every one of these Power Hour podcasts. We do have other tiers, some that help us unlock games to review, others for the bonus content that we do with Nerdy Nick, which we review movies that can also be requested. So check it out. It's a great way to support us if you can. So we got 2 questions this week. So you only got me once again. I apologize for that. But the first one comes to us from Todd Howard Sucks, and his question is probably too late. Never too late, bud. But least favorite beer style. That's a great. I like that because we always talk about our favorites. Least favorite. It would have to be something that's just like a very boring style for me. And you know, here's a style that I think's unique, but man, can it get fucked up real quick, is a lot of the black IPAs. Like, they try to make an IPA like semi-sweet, and it feels like a beer that doesn't know what it wants to be. And I've maybe had one that did it okay. All the other ones I truly did not enjoy. Like, I just feel like if you're an IPA, the characteristics of an IPA are high IBUs, so you get a little bit more tart, a little hoppy. You get maybe some citrus flavor. But with the black IPA, it's like all of a sudden they introduce this like malt character or roastiness on top of it. It's a little too busy, and it's not one I would highly recommend. Other than the novelty of saying you've tried it, I've never met anyone that's like, oh, I have to have one of those black IPAs. So, yeah, that's probably going to be my least favorite beer. So, Todd, thank you once again, bud. And then from Jimmy Mook, favorite type of sandwich. Now, I kind of feel like that was a question last week, or some variation, but I'll answer it either way. I always have to differentiate here between cold and hot. So when you go with a cold sandwich, you know what? I'm going to separate this in a few different categories, because this is the way my crazy ass brain works. I will say there is nothing like a good PB&J. Even at my old ass age, when I make it for the kids, I'm not going to lie, sometimes I make one for myself. There's something so simplistic. It takes you back to being a kid, and you know what? It never disappoints. I don't know why, but it never does. And yes, you still have to cut it at least one time diagonally. Don't be a savage and just eat it as the whole sandwich. But when it comes to like cold cuts, yeah, you're really not going to beat like a good... I always like to get what I consider like the old style Italians. So you get some prosciutto, some hot sopressata, some sharp provolone, maybe get some long hots in there. I love me hoagies. Don't get me wrong, the standard Italian with the salami and the ham and all that shit, it's great. But man, when I go for hoagies, that's the style I go with. Then, of course, you got hot sandwiches. And as we talked about last week, Cubans are amazing and very underrated. But I will be honest, that's one you almost have to be in a mood for. I don't think I could have that every day. Being from Philly, cheesesteak. How do you ever go wrong with a cheesesteak? But once again, I don't know if I would say my favorite, because a meatball sub could be good. And then you talk seasonal and a gobbler, which is a Wawa thing. But I'm sure plenty of places have it. It's when you have the hot turkey, you have cranberry sauce, you have stuffing, some gravy, and especially when you customize it with some added cheddar cheese or something, that shit is delicious. But if I really think about it, I go simplistic. I like a goddamn grilled cheese. I said it last week. It is such a comfort sandwich. And you mix that with a tomato soup, and it's a perfect meal. Especially, like, I usually spice the shit out of my tomato soup, and I add a little cheese in that too. So you're dipping that sandwich in there. Perfect comfort food, and one that I actually do look forward to when I go to certain diners. Like, I have places in Philly that I go to. They make it so goddamn good. So, yeah, I gave you a couple of answers there, because I don't think I could put one above all else. But, yeah, man, sandwiches are they're a son of a bitch. They're something I never get tired of. Like, whenever I am randomly hungry, I can make myself a quick little sandwich. So, good questions, guys. I do always appreciate it. And as I said, for everyone else that is supporting us, please make sure you get those questions in. If you're supporting us and you're paying for it, I'd love to see it. And we want to hear from you all. So, once again, thank you guys and cheers. All right, guys, now to dive into some topics, and unfortunately, I'm going to start with some sad news. It was sad for people like me who love these games, but if you follow us on Twitter, we mentioned this already, but they're finally fully going to be pulling the plug on one of my favorite asymmetrical games of all time, Friday the 13th. Now, granted, the game has been dead from them hosting their own servers, I think since... I want to say late 2020. I could be wrong there. But they did still allow peer-to-peer servers. So I was still able to hop on some games, although the queue times were horrendous. But one thing they added, which for me still brings me back, is AI stuff. So you can be Jason and go after camp counselors. And you can see all the cool kills. Of course, that takes such a big portion out of this game, because one of the best things about this game was the community, was the fun I had. I made at least 20 new Xbox friends just from people playing on that game, and I've never done that with any other random game. So really, really sad to see this go. But from the little screen cap I have up on the screen right now, basically the game is going to keep functioning at least until December 31st, 2024. After that, it's only going to be available to do the single player campaigns and those, kind of internal server just versus your bots. They'll no longer support peer-to-peer. But what's interesting is they also released an earlier date, is that September 31st of this year, 2023, the license is going to fully expire, and so they will no longer be available for sale, both digitally and physically. Now, there is one thing that kind of sparks is, should you go out and get it? I did. What's funny is I do already have it on Xbox. But you know what? I went on Amazon and decided, let me get the physical PS4 version, the Ultimate Slasher Edition, which comes with all the DLC. I think I paid $20 or something for it. I can't give you a good reason as to why I did it. I knew I wanted a physical copy of the game, but I already had the Xbox, so I figured I'd split the difference and go PS4. I'm even considering getting on Steam. Like, I just love the shit out of this game. Now, for anyone who does want to jump in and get it, I would say do it soon, because unfortunately I've seen the scums who want to basically start hoarding it, because it will be a sought after game in the future because it's no longer going to be available. So people will buy lots of copies and then sell them for crazy amounts of money, even though the original game was never even $50. My first copy, my digital copy, I paid $35 or $40 for. So it was never a full price game. And if you do already own the game, you're going to reduce it through, or I'm sorry, at this time we've made a decision. If you already, okay, so they also said they are reducing the price of the game to $5 digital, and they're putting 99 cents for each piece of DLC. So if you want to get it now. I think it really blows that it's going away, but this is also the same company, which is Gun Interactive, that's making Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I played that game. I was debating if I was going to release footage for that or not. I'll just say this. It's definitely way more fleshed out than Friday the 13th. And I only played early stage demo of it. I think they captured a lot of the fun of Friday the 13th. And I think that game's going to be amazing. I know Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a much easier license to procure and hold on to. So I'm rooting for that to stay successful. But once again, it's sad to see it go. I want to hear from you guys, though. Did any of you out there actually play the game? Do you have any good memories, bad memories? Are you going to miss it? Or are you going to go out and try and get a copy of it now that it's going to be leaving forever? You let me know in the comments. But in other news, another horror game is going bye-bye. And that's Video Horror Society. It's probably a more obscure game for a lot of you. It's probably one you may or may not have heard of. This is one of those games that I would call a Dead by Daylight kind of copycat. I don't consider Friday the 13th a copycat of it, because it tried to do something different. Whereas VHS, you have 4 survivors going against one creature. You're doing certain objectives. Now, granted, you are a little bit more on the offensive going after the killer. But at the end of the day, there's a lot that was very similar. This game had really interesting killers with interesting mechanics. As I already alluded to, it had a very stylized approach. It was much more comic book cartoony, and you had that ability of the survivors to kind of fight back. For whatever reason, this never really took off, and they announced that as of September 8th, they're going to be removing the game from Steam and Epic and shutting it down completely. Now, what really blows about that is there is going to be no peer-to-peer. There's going to be no, you could just go against AI bots. They are pulling the game, and you won't be able to use it at all, which absolutely sucks. So right now, it's already at a peer-to-peer level. So it's another game. Queue times, there's like 20 people still playing. It blows. So you're already probably, if you're someone who's tried the game, you know that you really can't play it at this point. And it really sucks, because I know these guys who are making it from Hellbent Games, it seemed like they were really all for it. They were going good, and they just basically said, hey, we've never even made enough to cover our cost or to keep it going. So, I don't know. This brings me back to, was their pricing model done right? I know they had a little bit of DLC and things you could buy, microtransactions, but maybe they would have been better off just selling it as a full price game and adding a few more options. I think a lot of these games are relying too much on just multiplayer, only server run things. Might not be the way to go. So I am really sad to see that go. I think you might see a couple other games that are very multiplayer only or server based. They're probably going to go the same way. And that sucks for we've talked before about video game preservation. There's no real way to preserve a game like that. Like Friday the 13th, the nice thing is you got a physical copy. You can play the single player. VHS, you're just going to have footage. So I don't know what the game looks like when everything is pulled and the servers are completely shut down. Maybe last minute they'll put something in there so you can at least still boot up a custom match. I just hope they at least throw the functionality of doing bots so you can still do something with it. If not, uploads. And it does make me sad. I never want to see a game company go out of business, and especially because it does have a fan base that really is dedicated to it. So cheers to VHS and to Friday the 13th. You will be missed. However, there's a little silver lining for Friday the 13th. And there's a new game in development. And when I first read this, I was kind of like, okay, who's crazy enough to try to develop a new Friday the 13th game? And one of the main people who's producing, I guess that's the right word, or are going to be helping develop, is the composer for the music of Friday the 13th, Harry Manfredini. And this guy, he is the one who created the amazing soundtrack from the original movie. He did music through, I don't know if he did every single one, but I know he at least did up to 4. He might have done all of them. I could be speaking out my ass, but that classic Jason sound, that it was all him. He even developed the music for the Friday the 13th game that's going away. And when you play that game, you can feel that. So I am happy we have someone who has a tie to the franchise. I hope, like the Friday the 13th game that's getting pulled, this one, I hope they include Tom Savini again, who helped direct and kind of write up all those awesome kills from the game. They got, oh my god, I am completely blanking on his name. The stunt guy, Gunnar. It is killing me. I was about to say Gunnar Hansen, and I know that's not his name. Oh my god, hold on. I gotta look this up. Kane Hodder. I sometimes mix up Gunnar Hansen and Kane Hodder. But Kane Hodder did all the mocap for the Jason. I hope they pull those guys in, even original Sean Cunningham. Now, details are really sparse on this, but he made one thing very clear. It is not going to be anything like the Friday the 13th game that just came out. It's not going to be an asymmetrical multiplayer game. So right there, hearing that, I'm actually really happy. Although I love asymmetrical games and I know there's a level of fun I can't, I doubt I'm ever going to get to again. I do think these horror titles need to go back to, figure out a way, make it just so you're a survivor going through. Go, with an Alien Isolation approach or something like that. I think they should do that for Halloween. I feel like too many horror titles are now looking to try to emulate the Dead by Daylight because it's a formula that worked for them, and they captured so many licensed killers. But take these classic licenses and do something else with it. Of all the Friday the 13th games that have been out there, there's not many good ones. And I'm very excited to see what comes from this. He didn't speak anything too much other than just that it's not going to be like the asymmetrical game. He's obviously going to be doing music for it. Other than that, he didn't have much details. What I am curious about, though, is if it's just going to be a single movie or if you're going to have multiple movies. And I do think that is part of the licensing issue they had with the asymmetrical game, is because there's so many different licenses. I think you got Sony, you got, what the hell is the other one? I forget, but I know there's multiple studios involved. So to get each license, it only takes one to fall apart, which is why it took forever to finally get a Blu-ray release of all the Friday the 13th bundled together. Previously, you could get 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you'd have to get 5 and 6 on its own. It was all over the place. But I am really excited. we'll see what comes from it. You guys know me. It'll probably be a day one purchase, unless for some reason it ends up looking really bad. There is one more thing I will mention that he said. He wants the game to look way more realistic. So he wants to get away from the style that, once again, I don't even know what you call it, like a cartoony 3D style of the asymmetrical one. So we'll see what comes from that. I'm excited. I hope that's a proving ground for them to now take other licensed horror things, because I would love to see a legit Halloween. Fuck it, throw in a Nightmare on Elm Street. That would be a great game. And you know what? Honestly, even the NES game, as much as it may have been a pain in the ass, it actually wasn't that bad of a game. But that's a franchise that just never really went anywhere. So give me that. Give me Chucky. Give me Hellraiser. There's so many options out there. Just start making them. So you know I'm going to keep track of this. You guys let me know what you think. Are you excited for it? You optimistic? Or do you think it's just going to go nowhere and fizzle out? You let me know below in the comments. All right, and the final topic, and really the main focus of this episode, we had the Xbox Direct, and I'll leave it up to you if you think it disappointed or delivered. One of the interesting things I did find, though, is if you remember Jim and I talking about this, Microsoft made this like a real elaborate tweet how they weren't going to have a bunch of games with trailers that were just made of CGI and not using gameplay footage. I can say, in my opinion, I don't think they stayed true to that. Not saying they didn't show gameplay, but to me it read like there was a lot of CGI rendered trailers, which always leaves you begging the question, like, well, how realistic will the game look to what you're showing us? I'm not shocked they really didn't deliver on that, but I am going to cover each of the games that did come out. I will be honest, a lot of them I don't have any experience previously with, or I just don't know that much about. But let's just go through. And I have a link here from Games Hub, which really just kind of runs down all the games, so I'm going in their order. And of course, I'm going to wrap it up with Starfield and talk a little bit more in depth about that. So right off the bat, we have Fable, a series which I have zero experience with. I know it was like the hot thing when it came to RPGs in the past. I think I may have Fable 1 or 2 on Xbox when it was free on Xbox Games with Gold. But what I can tell from the trailer, one, I will say, the stuff that does look like actual gameplay, the game looks beautiful. The guy they have narrating it, the British comedian Richard Ayoade, I know I'm butchering his name. I only know him from, what is it? Is it the, it's either the Adam Sandler Bad Alien movie or it's the Simon Pegg one. I can't remember, but I know he's in some alien movie. Not really a big fan of his. I see what they're going for it. And, you know, there's some interesting things shown in the trailer. What I'm curious is I haven't heard anyone like really begging for a new Fable. So maybe this kind of pulls it back. But I will say, it does something extremely annoying, which is, guys, stop restarting your goddamn series. Call of Duty did it. I feel like every movie, game, whatever, just call this Fable 4 or 3, whatever Fable it would have been number-wise. Stop just restarting it, because now we have to do that annoying shit where you say, oh, do you mean Fable the original from such and such year or Fable from 2023? Just knock that shit off, please. So, it's a game I know I'll never play, but I'm curious, what do you guys think about it? The next one is one that definitely sparks my interest, and it's called South of Midnight. It has a very cool kind of Louisiana bayou feel to it, and it's, you know, you're just basically being introduced to this like stop motion guy named Shaky Bones. So There is really nothing explained about this. The protagonist seems to have like web powers, but they're kind of like magical web powers. I don't even know how to describe it. So it's made by Compulsion Games. So if you've played We Happy Few or Contrast, you probably know the kind of humor, dark humor I'll call it, and what to expect. I'm a sucker for like the Voodoo, Louisiana, Creole mythology. I don't know if they're pulling on the Anansi twins, but I'm kind of curious in it. It looks like it would be something up my alley. I just, like I said, I hate being not knowing if is it going to be a first-person game, a third-person game? Is it going to be, what kind of game is it going to be? So this is one of those ones. It's just a CGI trailer. So next we have Ubisoft with another Star Wars game. And this time, it's Star Wars Outlaws. What can we say here? It's a Star Wars bounty hunter game. Why not just do a Boba Fett or Mandalorian game? Like, you're giving us this nameless character, which, hey, it's been working for the other Star Wars game. I feel like opinions on Star Wars games are all over the place. They are generally not going to fully disappoint you, but Ubisoft has kind of had an interesting record with them. It looks interesting, but kind of like the Star Wars universe when it comes to films. There's almost too much now, and I know I can't care. And I'll be honest, I doubt I'm ever going to get to this one. Unless it's like, it does something that's like out of this world. That was a terrible goddamn pun. So, yeah, just give people a Mandalorian or Boba Fett game, because you're kind of trying to bridge a gap here by doing a bounty hunter, but she's not Boba Fett or Mandalorian, and that's who everyone I feel like really wants to play. So we'll see what comes from it. I imagine, though, it's safe to say it's going to be a third-person action game, like a lot of them. So that's not coming out till 2024, though. You guys let me know what you think about that. The next one actually interests me a lot. And I'll be honest, when I first saw the trailer, it's called 33 Immortals. Immediately I thought, oh, okay, it's a Hades game. But it's a little different. So, it's from the developer Spiritfarer, and the interesting thing, yes, it is in the style of the Hades, but it's a 4-player co-op game, but it's not 4 players. You can have 33 players. So I don't know how, I'll be honest, that's a point I don't understand. If it's a 4-player party, but then how do you get to 33? I don't know. But the style is very interesting and kind of like Hades, and I'm sorry I keep saying that. The whole idea is that you're going to be fighting hordes and hordes of enemies, solving puzzles, and it's all on a quest to take down God. They're just saying take down God, not even a God. And the God they're showing is, I don't know what the fuck it is. So I don't know if this is pulled from a certain mythology or if it's completely unique and made up for the game. Looks good though. If it plays like Hades, I'll definitely at least give it a try. And you know what? It could be a fun party game with your friends. Speaking of party games, Payday 3. Man, talk about a game that came out of goddamn left field. I don't have that much experience with the previous Paydays, but Payday 2 came out in 2013. So 10 years later, they decide, let's make a sequel. Okay, a co-op heist game. I'm sure there's going to be fun and some interesting things done here, because I feel like, there is a kind of, I think there is a want right now for something different in the FPS world, like other than Call of Duty, other than shooters like Fortnite. Like, you want different objectives. So this will probably scratch that itch for some folks. I don't know how it's going to do, but we'll see. You know, it comes out on September 21st of this year, and it's going to be available on Game Pass. So at a minimum, if you have Game Pass, it's probably a game that's safe to be like, let's just give it a try. And I think this is one I definitely would. So we'll see what comes from that. Next, we have Persona 3 Reload, and you know what? I have zero knowledge, zero experience with any of the Persona games. I said to Jim, I don't know what it is. Anime style turns me off almost right away, whether it be movies, whether it be games. I don't know what it is. It's like too much going on, too cutesy. I don't know. It's a very weird style for me, but mix on top of that, it's got that very RPG feel. And this obviously is a remake of the PS2 RPG Persona 3. I should mention that. It's not one I'll ever play. It's going to be available this year, and it will also be on Game Pass, so if you're into those games, I'm happy for you, but it's not one I'll ever get to. But next, speaking of a game that I've seen a lot of tweets. A little bit I do go on Twitter. I've seen a lot about this game. Avowed from Obsidian, who made Outer Worlds, obviously. So it's an RPG set in a fantasy world where you basically have this like virus taking over everything, and you gotta figure out how to stop it. I will be honest, the first time I watched this trailer without knowing anything, and my understanding is this is a follow-up to another game, I think. I just thought, hey, they're making a more cartoony Skyrim. Like, it looks like Skyrim set in Outer World. Or, I don't know what else to say. Like, that's exactly what I felt like. You know, obviously there's guns and whatever, but you basically still have, like, be a magic person, be a warrior, be a ranger. Yeah, with the little virus thing going on, is it kind of like Fallout 2? I don't know. It's a weird mishmash of things. I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm sure it'll be fun. I don't know if I need to play this one, as Skyrim is one of my favorite games of all time. So I'm sure I would like it, but I don't know. I don't have that need to play this right now. But as I said, I have seen a lot of people say how excited they are for it. So same deal. I'm happy for you all. It's going to be available in 2024, and it's going to be on Game Pass. I'm sure my attitude may change. Maybe if I see more about the game, maybe I'll give it a try. Because you know what? If it comes on Game Pass, why the hell not? The next one is a game that has given me more and more FOMO as the years go on. Sea of Thieves, The Secret of Monkey Island. I've said this many times. I am a complete sucker for games that get other franchises and input them into their games. Secret of Monkey Island, I really enjoyed. I never beat the second one, but I did do the first one. And you know what? As a point and click, the humor is on point. It's really funny. And I think this whole like trailer really captures that humor, but done in the Sea of Thieves world. I haven't played Sea of Thieves. It is one that, like, when I see footage of it, I'm like, that's really cool. I think I need to watch just like the old school Pirate of the Caribbean to get me in the mood to want to play a pirate game, and then I'll jump into this. But I love shit like this, so keep it coming. And this is going to be available on July 20th, so if you guys play the game, it seems like it's a new way to keep life in a game that you probably already love. And speaking of bringing things to games, combining multiple franchises, I know like our buddy Snarcast will love this. You got Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. So that's coming out, which is obviously going to be awesome, because that's a game I personally don't have interest in, but man, oh man, I think it's probably the most performance heavy game that Microsoft has made. I know it like kills people's PCs, and it like it's a beast, but it looks pretty damn amazing. But in addition, they're going to be on regular Flight Simulator. You're going to have a collaboration with Dune, the film, and you're going to have those little, what I call the little fluttering insect planes. So, you know what? Cool. Add in another franchise with an established game. Do that with more things. And I feel like, especially flying spaceships, man, the if you did that with Star Wars in the Flight Simulator, I think it would be pretty damn cool. So that is actually going to be available November 3rd. But Flight Simulator 4, or Flight Simulator 2024 is going to be available in 2024. So keep an eye for that. Next, we got Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2. I've been saying it for the past couple of years. Hellblade 1 has creeped into my top 20 favorite games. The soundtrack is out of this world. The story is very riveting, and it's one of the games where I've never had a game utilize sound so well. Like, it's a game where I don't say this lightly. You have to use headphones, because ways to deflect incoming attacks. You get a sense of Senua's psychosis because she's hearing voices in her head, and the way the sound is designed, it sounds like it's coming from back here and then right here. Like, it's just so well done. The combat is very simple, but it was very tight. And I'm a sucker for Norse mythology, which is what the first one took in place. I don't really know where this one is, though. It's very elusive, really, what it's going to be. I know previously it may still be in Norse mythology, or it could be Celtic, because she is a Celtic woman who went to save her husband from the Norse hell. So maybe it's going to be a different one. I don't know. But I think that it's very interesting, and I know this will be a day one play for me, but it's not coming out till 2024, so we don't know when it's actually coming out. Now we have the Yakuza Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. Funny trailer. You have the protagonist, Ichiban, and I'm probably killing it, or is it Ichiban Kazuga? I've never played these games. It's another series I desperately want to get into, but like everything else, it's like I can't commit to a whole new series where I'm going to want to play through all the games. Without playing them, I know I'm going to love the shit out of them. I'll say that. But yeah, it may be a game set in Hawaii this time. So we'll see what actually comes from it. But this is one of those ones, all CG, as Microsoft said they weren't going to do. If you like the series, I'm sure you're going to like this game. Then we have Fallout 76. And they're getting a little, they're getting local to me, because this one is Answer the Call of Fallout 76. And they are having you go to Atlantic City. But the thing I thought I saw a few different things from Fallout 76. So that's kind of one of the first big things that's coming forward. If it's the same one that I think it is, there's also going to be werewolves and other things going on. So I'm not as sure as to what's going to be included with this. But if you're familiar with any of the Fallout games, they always do try to do semi-local. Atlantic City is not that local to West Virginia, but who cares? So it's another thing they're adding on. I'm really just waiting for them to release a new Fallout, but hey, keep supporting the game. Then we have Kunitsu Gami Path of the Goddess. Yeah, sorry. This is one it's cool. It looks like it's like Japanese mythology, which I actually am interested in, but it's very kind of, once again, all over the place. I get vibes of just a 3D hack and slash, and I'm sure the timing is going to be very precise. But I think it is cooperative multiplayer. Cool. Not one I'm really interested in. Then we got Forza Motorsport, which once again, I give it a goddamn name other than Forza Motorsport. Like, Forza's another one. It was Forza, then Forza Horizon. Now it's Motorsport. Okay. This is coming out October 10th, 2023. But it's, they were basically showing off, like, GM cars like Corvettes. So, I don't know what to tell you about this one. The Forza series is amazing. The little bit I have played, I've been impressed. But I ain't got time for these games. But anyone who does play them, you know they're damn well made. So I'm sure it's going to be fun. Then we got the Elder Scrolls Online Necrom. Interesting thing. I can't believe they're still releasing stuff, even though I just praised it for Fallout 76 and everything else. Elder Scrolls Online, I don't know anyone who plays that. That, of course, doesn't mean anything. I doubt they'd be releasing shit unless people were playing. For as much as I loved every single other Elder Scrolls game, I never got into this one. So, cool. It'll hold you over till the next Elder Scrolls game, I guess. Yeah, I got nothing else to really say about that. And the same goes for Overwatch 2 Invasion. Man, Overwatch 2, talk about such a lukewarm reception to that game after they decided to go to 2 and cut 1 and all that shit. But like Overwatch 1, you knew it was just a matter of time before the DLC was going to start pouring in, and this is the next major update with you basically have to take down the mechs of Null Sector. So, yeah, like I said, Overwatch 2, I think, did nothing more than probably hurt the Overwatch series. But I could be wrong. You guys let me know in the comments below. All right. Moving right along to Persona 5 Tactica. Another series. I think I actually mentioned this earlier. I have no experience with any of the Persona games. Doesn't interest me. Looks... I don't even know what to call it. I mean, it's obviously a tactical RPG, but that chibi style in this one, so it's not really anime, it's more chibi, is another style that does zero for me. So I won't play this. You really got to be a game that pulls me in for me to want to even do a tactical RPG. That's one of the most boring styles of games for me personally. So if you like the series, it's going to be out in November 17th. And finally, oh crap, sorry. There are a few other games. I was about to go into Starfield. I'll just quickly go through Jusant. I'm going to say Jusant. It's a mountain climbing puzzle game. So yeah, it's like a 3D version of that what the hell was that game? Oh my god, what? Little Fez. And I know that's a crazy simplification, but that's what it sounds like when I hear puzzle mountain climbing game. So for puzzle solvers out there, get excited. For me, this will be a pass. Then we have Still Wakes the Deep. A first-person, narrative-based game, kind of set in the 1970s on an oil rig. Seems like it's something that's up my alley. Now we're at this like kind of what I would honestly call a glut of horror games or spooky games. This would be one if it comes to Xbox Game Pass, which I presume it will. Actually, it says it will. It'll be early 2024. I'll take my time getting to it. I feel like I have enough other spooky or horror games I want to get to. It may be great. I just don't think I'm going to hit it right away. Then we have Dungeons of Hindenburg, third-person action game. So you got fast-paced combat, you have zip lining, rail grinding. Kind of reminds me of like a comic book version, even though it's cel-shaded, of like Sunset Overdrive, but hack and slash. Once again, oversimplification, but looks pretty cool. This is one I think I would give a try on a whim and see what happens. Then we got Cyberpunk 2077, Phantom Liberty. Not much to say about this. I still haven't gotten around to Cyberpunk. I am always impressed when I see cool videos of it, but I just haven't gotten into it. Cities Skylines 2. It's another city building sim. Okay. It's another one I'm not really going to play, but city building sims are really fun if you're into that kind of stuff. Metaphor Refantasio. It's an RPG. Fantasy RPG. Not going to play it. It's from the Persona team. Alright, Towerborn. This is one I actually went a little bit deeper in. I love this art style. There's like generated 3D world. It's like a 3D backspace, but it's on a 2D plane. And you basically like kind of go out, collect resources with a team, and you gotta like keep upgrading your tower. It looks really interesting. This is a game I could see myself getting into, but it won't be a day one for me. It will be out in 2027. But at the end of the day, it's like a party-based side-scrolling brawler with strategy, which is two genres I really like. So they say it's in an ever-changing world. I'll see what that actually means. But it looks really cool and innovative, so I'll give it a try at some point. Then we got Clockwork Revolution. Steampunk aesthetic. I don't know really what to make about this game. I'll be honest. By the time I was really reviewing this, I get a very big BioShock feel of this game, but even more old school. Because I don't think you just have guns. I think you have kind of like powers going on. So we'll see what comes from it. So that covers pretty much all the major games except for Starfield. All right, and now let's talk about Starfield. So this was on everyone's like, let's see what they actually present. Is it going to be ready? Do they have any footage? Are they going to answer questions? And love or hate Microsoft, I feel like they really delivered on Starfield. Not only did they have just a little short, like 3-minute thing that during the regular, but then they had a Starfield Direct and they showed you about like 45 minutes of the game. They covered a lot of topics. For anyone who doesn't know, this is Bethesda's RPG they've been working on for over 25 years. I don't know what to call it except, you could say it's almost like No Man's Sky. It's not procedurally generated, but there's potentially thousands of different planets. And the only thing I didn't really get from the game is, I think Earth has been destroyed. And you're basically on a I'll call it on a quest, if you will, in this new Atlantis, which is a space age city. Like they kind of show that off a lot, and I'm sure that's where all the like primary drivers of what's going to happen, where you need to go. And if anyone knows Bethesda, yes, there is always a main story, but that's not what everyone loves. Like you are going to be able to go where you want, when you want. You're going to be able to go on the planets. You're going to be able to do multiple things. You can mine for resources. You can scan the wildlife. You can scan the flowers. You can, deliver cargo to other planets. The first thing first, you have character creation, which is something you would expect anyway from the Bethesda game, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time. but of course you're going to have skills and leveling up, and your character can have very specific like backgrounds, which kind of set them up like other Fallout and Skyrim games. So it's like, like thief, warrior, whatever, but this is done in more space age. So you might have someone who's like space fighter or engineer or a miner, whatever you want to call it. So part of this skills and leveling up won't be as much just focused on you. They'll also include some other things like alien mind control, your atypical punching, shooting, pickpocketing, jetpacks, speech skills. But then you also have a big focus on customization of your ships. Now, as of this trailer, I saw that you can have a fleet of up to 9 different ships and just absolutely crazy customization options, and it seems like it is very well built. I almost equate it to what we're seeing right now with the Tears of the Kingdom. You have people basically building like giant mechs as their spaceship. So I think I don't know if it'll be unlimited, but I think as long as you have an interesting imagination, you can keep it really simple, or you can build some really crazy looking shit. And your ships can have multi-purpose. So you might have one that's more of a starfighter. You might have ones that's for shipment and cargo. There's all types of shit. And you can either buy new ships or you can pirate them and steal somebody else's ship. They did show some of the space fighting, which looks really, really good. I can't speak for the controls, but it does seem like it's a level above just very simple, like shooting fire. It does seem like there's a couple things you have to manage along the way. And then, as I said, so you have your space fighting, get on the ground, you're exploring, but they also showed a lot of the combat, which seems like it's very fleshed out. Now, Fallout 4 took the big leap for Bethesda, allowing you to aim down sights, and did it. Was it perfect? Hell no. But in this game, you can basically have a jetpack, be floating in the air, shooting. So I'm not going to say it looks absolutely perfect. And depending on which planet you're on, you might have environment effects, like almost like if you're on the moon and there's less gravity, if you shoot, it kind of like sends you back a little bit. So there's a lot to unpack with this. I am 1,000% going to be playing this day one, because I've been wanting an RPG to really pull me back in. If I'm being honest, I was a very early adopter of No Man's Sky, and like most people, it did let me down. Although I did get enjoyment, and I actually defended it a lot more than other people, at the end of the day, there just wasn't enough to do. Now, what I will say is, No Man's Sky has also managed to do a great job of coming back and giving you enough things and improving the way you move and combat and yada, yada, yada. But there was still just some key things I feel like missing. I do have faith, based on this little bit of footage, that if you're someone that wants to just go from planet to planet, shooting up people, you're going to have a shit ton of guns to do it with. If you're someone who wants to just fly around and explore things, you're going to be able to do that. You can even like smuggle illegal items, because they say like on the little spaceship, like, do you have any contraband? So I think there's going to be so much to do. I just really question, like, I know there's been a lot of going back and forth. Is it really going to be thousands of planets, or is it going to be like maybe a couple hundred? Even if it's a couple hundred, that's insane if the planets are as detailed as they're suggesting. So I'm very, very curious for this. They are saying that's going to come out this year. They're saying September 1st. Or I'm sorry. Nope. They did not say that. I think they said September 6th. I'm sorry. I hope that's true. I don't want to say it definitely is. I definitely don't want to say it's definitely not. The game definitely looks finished to me from what I saw. I mean, you guys can criticize it, say that's crazy, but it does look finished to me. I think a lot of people have this weird idea that, the Bethesda games come out super buggy. I talked about this last podcast. I never had that many issues with Bethesda games. Doesn't mean they're not buggy, and especially for PC players. But I'll be playing it on a console anyway, so we'll see. I think the game is going to be excellent, though. Maybe I'm wrong. So what I really want to hear is from you all. Do you think Microsoft delivered? Starfield obviously was the thing that stole the show. There's a few other interesting things, but at the end of the day, Starfield was the shining star. I hate to use that once again. So you guys let me know. I know I did a lot of rambling this episode. It is always easier to do it with Jim. But yeah, we'll see what he thinks about all this next week as well. At least give his quick overview. But yeah, with that, guys, I do want to say thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for supporting. And if you haven't already, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you're listening to us on iTunes or Spotify, if you give us a 5-star rating, we will read any comment left, even if you want to bash us. So with that, have a good night, everyone, and cheers.